Good evening. Welcome to Shajiz Physics Wednesday high school sessions. Okay. So, uh, in our journey, this particular journey, we have been discussing various fundamental physics topics related to different classes, especially high school classes, plus one and plus two. On Mondays and Thursdays, we have been discussing plus one topics, and Tuesdays and Fridays are dedicated for plus two topics. Wednesdays and Saturdays are dedicated for high school topics. So, as today is Wednesday, we are deep diving into high school topic, uh, and the topic which I am going to discuss today is really a fundamental topic. But in my experience, in my observation, many of the students are not having the proper understanding of these particular fundamental concepts. So always I emphasize strengthening the fundamentals with the students. If you are strong enough with the fundamentals, that will decide the heights you are about to conquer. So, in order to move uh, up the ladder in the proper way, it is really important for you, uh, if you consider your career journey or your learning journey. In both the cases, it is crucially or critically important to have strong fundamentals, especially in a subject like physics. So today we are going to discuss the topic, or it's a smaller topic, but it's really important. So let me share the screen. Let me share the screen for you. One second. Yes. I'm getting into that. So, yes, here I am. I hope the screen is visible for each one of you. Um, so, one second, sorry. Let me reshare the screen so that you will be able to watch it in a proper manner. I hope now it is clear for you. Yes, the concept of displacement and the distance traveled. Now, uh, these are two simple topics which we start learn from class 8th onwards. So, um, we are familiar with motion or movement. So, here in this first image, you consider a person who is traveling from the point A to point B. It is clearly given. Now, let the dotted lines represent the path along which the person moved from A to B. This is the actual path traveled by him. Okay. Then the length of this actual path taken by the person is called as distance traveled. It is the distance traveled. Okay. Now, here, another concept related to this particular motion is displacement. As the name indicates, displacement. See, an object got displaced from one point to the other. So here, actually, the object was at point A initially, but after some time, it got displaced to the point B. So displacement refers to the quantity displaced, up to what extent the object got displaced during this particular motion. So displacement simply depends on the starting point and the destination. Here the starting point is A and the destination is B. So you draw a straight line connecting the starting point and the destination. It will give you the displacement. But in the case of, if you are considering the distance traveled, you need to take care of the actual path followed by the object in order to reach B starting from A. That is the importance or peculiarity of these two concepts. So in displacement, we need to bother only about the starting point and the final destination. Only 2 points: starting point, finishing point. You draw a straight line connecting both. And since we are connecting the initial point and the final point by means of a straight line, definitely it will be the shortest or smallest possible path between those 2 points. Okay, now let us consider another example. See this. In this, a batter hits a ball at point A. Okay, now the path followed by the ball is given in red dotted curve. And at point B, a fielder, he or she, catches the ball. And these 2 points we are considering: the point at which the bat hit the ball, the point at which the fielder catches the ball. These two are the reference points under our consideration. Now you think about it. The actual path taken by the object is red dotted line. So the length of that path is termed as distance traveled by the object in this particular case. At the same time, the straight line which connects point A and point B is referred to be the displacement of the object, which means this particular object has displaced this much. It was at point A initially and it reached point B after some time. So what is the displacement? It is displaced by that much of amount. That is the straight line connecting A and B. Okay, now let us mathematically describe this. Usually distance traveled is represented by small letter s. At the same time, displacement is referred or represented by the symbol delta x. See, for high school students, the symbol delta is not that familiar, but you should understand the concept of delta. Delta means a change. See, I can give you an example. See, suppose you are now in class 10 and your age is 15 right now. You consider some 5 years back, you were in class 5. Your age was 10 at that point. Now, what is the difference in your age? Always you find the difference by taking the difference between final value and initial value. Your final value is 15 years. Your final age when you are in class 10, 15 years. Now, subtract the initial age from the final age. Which was the initial age? 10 years when you were in class 5. So 15 years minus 10 years, that will give the 5 years answer. So here the difference you obtained by taking the difference between final value and initial value can be termed as the change in age. Change in age happened as you moved from class 5 to class 10. Another example, see, on a fine morning, you are leaving home for some purchase. In your pocket, you have 2000 rupees. Okay. Then you went out, visited the grocery shop, visited the vegetable shop, and you purchased whatever be the requirement in accordance with the requirement. Then after the purchase, you are having 500 rupees in your pocket. So what is the change? Final value minus initial value. Final value is 500 rupees. Initial value is 2000 rupees. So when you subtract initial value 2000 rupees from final value 500 rupees, you will be getting minus 1500 rupees. What does this minus indicates? Here the change is negative. Why? Because you have only 500 rupees at the end of the day. But when you were starting from your home, you were having 2000 rupees in your pocket. So the change is negative because the amount with you got decreased because you made some purchase. So change can be either positive or negative. Change positive means final value is more than initial value. Change is negative indicates that final value is less than the initial value. Okay. So in the case of displacement, always we need to take the difference between final position and initial position. So here initial position is represented by x2 and final position is represented by the symbol x2 and initial position is represented by the symbol x1. X1, one initial position, x2 final position. So we are taking the difference between final and initial positions in order to obtain the displacement. This symbolic representation delta x, you will be learning more about this in class 11th. Similar situations will be appearing there in class 11th. So that's it. Now, I wanted to give you some practical example related to this. You consider a Google map. In Kerala, two places, Palakkad and Thrissur. Okay. Now, the blue solid line represents the actual road, national highway, starting from Palakkad, reaching at Thrissur. Now, suppose you want to identify the displacement between Palakkad and Thrissur, you draw a straight line from the starting point to the final point. Exactly, it will be the displacement. You need not bother about the huge buildings, rocky structure, or a river, or marshy land, or anything else, or huge mountains like that. You simply connect the starting point and the destination with a straight line. Otherwise, we can say that you consider a huge tower built at Palakkad and another one built at Thrissur. Then you connect the two towers using a rope tightly. Then the length of that rope will be the displacement without any bend or curve like that, because it will be a straight line. Okay, you are connecting two towers only, one at Palakkad, the second at Thrissur. Now, but the actual picture is different. This is the actual road through which you are driving your car or your bike or you are moving in a bus or something like that, some vehicle like that. So in order to obtain the actual distance traveled from you by you, To reach Thrissur from Palakkad, you need to measure the actual length of the road, which is marked in blue color, solid color. That will be the distance traveled. But the displacement is the straight line connecting initial and final position. Here, one very, very important thing you need to understand, which is while you describe displacement, direction is absolutely crucial. Why? What is the importance of direction? See, let the displacement between Palakkad and Thrissur, let it be 50 kilometer. That means this green line has a length 50 kilometer. Now you consider a straight line having 50 kilometer drawn at some other direction. The black line, it is also 50 kilometer, but it never reaches Thrissur. So direction is crucial and critical when you describe displacement. Let us look at another example. Starting from Palakkad, you are considering another 50 kilometer in some other direction. It reaches some other place called Tirthala. So displacement, whenever you mention displacement, you need to mention the length of the straight line connecting the starting and final positions along with the specific direction. Even if you are changing the direction slightly, the final destination will differ a lot. So direction is really, really important when you mention displacement. But in the case of distance travel, direction is irrelevant because direction changes continuously when you consider the distance traveled. But here in the first case, you consider the green line only single direction, one and only one direction. If you slightly change the direction, the destination will differ. Okay, so that's about distance traveled and displacement. This is a real life example. Now we shall consider a small calculation related with displacement and distance travel, which will help you identify this concept with better clarity. Let us consider a vehicle which is starting from the point O. Okay, it is moving along the along this particular direction towards A and B. Okay, now after starting from O, it moves towards A, reaches A, continues its journey, reaches B, returns from B, and reach back at A, then again reach back at O, then it ends its journey at point C. That is the situation, scenario. Now, we shall consider here the distance from O is given. 40 meter, 80 meter, 120 meter, 160, 200, 240, 280, 320, 360, 400, etc. Then here, since displacement is direction specific, we are considering this direction to be positive. That means O to A, that direction is to be positive, and O to C, that direction is to be negative. Okay, so towards C from O, it is marked as minus 40, minus 80, minus 120. Negative sign indicates that the direction is on the opposite direction. Okay, now we are considering various motions here. We are considering motion from O to A. O to A. What about the displacement? Final position minus initial position. Final position is plus 240 meter and initial position is 0. So plus 240 minus 0, which gives plus 240 meter. But in the case of distance, we need not mention the direction. So simply you write 240 meter. Now you consider motion from O to A, then to B. Vehicle starts from O, reaches A, then reaches B. Now, what about the displacement in this particular case? Final position, you need to consider only the final and initial positions. Final position is plus 360 meter minus initial position 0. Plus 360 minus 0, that is plus 360 meter. But while you are describing this distance, you need not bother about the direction and simply write 360 meter. you never wanted to write the direction, the plus sign which indicates direction. Now, next thing we are considering the motion of the object from O to B, then back to A. O to B, back to A. Now, what about the displacement here? When you consider displacement, you need to think only about initial and final position. What is the initial position? O. What is the final position? 240. You need not think about the path followed by the object. Wherever uh, wherever it traveled through. It is not our concern. We need to bother about only the initial and final positions. So initial position is O, final position is A. Okay. Now plus 240 meter, then distance traveled will not be plus 240. Why? Because here the distance travel, when you calculate the distance travel, you need to take the whole path followed by the vehicle. That is from O to B, then back to A. In order to reach O to B, the vehicle has traveled 360 meters. Then from B to A, it has traveled again 120 meters. So 360 plus 120, that is 480 meters. Now, if we consider the motion of the vehicle from O to B, then back to O, here displacement is 0. Why it is 0? Because initial position and final position are one and the same. The object reached back at the starting point itself, so that the displacement in this particular case is 0. Now, what about the distance? When you calculate distance, you need to consider the distance traveled by the object from O to B, then back to O. In order to reach B from O, it had to travel 360 meter. Then from B to A, again it has to travel 360 meter. So total distance traveled is 720 meter. That is 360 plus 360, total 720 meter. Now, consider this. That is O to B, then back to C. C. What about the displacement? You need to consider only final and initial position. What is the final position here? Minus 120 meter. Initial position is 0. So minus 120 meter minus 0, that is minus 120 meter itself will be the displacement. On the other hand, distance traveled will be equal to the total length of the path taken by the vehicle. That means from O to B, 360 meter. From B to O, again 360 meter. From O to C, again 120 meter. So 360 plus 360, that means 720 plus 120, that will be 840 meter. So this will be the distance traveled. So by comparing these two tables, we can arrive certain conclusions. The first thing is displacement need to be represented along with direction. But in the case of distance, we need not mention any direction. Direction irrelevant in the case of distance travel, but for displacement, direction is relevant and important. Okay. Now, second thing, you think about or you observe the data here given here. Displacement can be positive, negative, or 0. But distance traveled will always be positive for a moving object. It will be 0 for an object at rest because it is not traveling. But whenever it starts traveling, definitely the distance traveled will be positive alone. It can never be 0, never be negative. So that is another difference. Now, another thing, you compare the distance and displacement in each cases. See here, the displacement, magnitude of displacement is 240. Here, distance is 240. 360, 360. But here, in the third case, you observe displacement is 240 magnitude, but the distance traveled is 480. In the next case also, the displacement is less than the distance traveled. In the next case also, the displacement is less than the distance traveled. What does it mean? It means that displacement the maximum value of displacement will be equal to the magnitude of distance only when the object is moving from starting point to the final point along a straight path without any change in direction. In that case alone, both displacement and distance travel will be one and the same, equal. In all other cases, displacement will be less than distance traveled. So we can write it as displacement will be less than or equal to distance traveled. And we should remember, when the displacement will be equal to distance traveled, only if the object is moving or taking a straight path from starting point to the end point without any change in direction. Even if it returns after going to some place, then direction is changing. In that case also, the displacement will not be equal to distance traveled. So the magnitude of displacement and distance travel will be one and the same only if the object is moving along a straight path without any change in direction. So these are the conclusions we can arrive from the data obtained here. So that's it. We have completed the discussion about the displacement and the distance travel. Let me stop sharing this screen. And I wanted to tell you that in this series, every week or on every weekdays, I am appearing here live. On Mondays and Thursdays, I will be discussing some +1 topics, fundamentals of related to some +1 topics. Tuesdays and Fridays are exclusively dedicated for +2 topics. Wednesdays and Saturdays are for high school discussion. Okay. And on Sundays, I will be appearing with a general topic which is relevant to anyone. Okay. Monday to Saturday sessions will be, live sessions will be at 6:30 p.m. Sunday session will be live at 10:30 a.m. because it is a Sunday holiday. So that's it with that. And one more thing I wanted to share with you. I would like to invite you to attend my free webinar called Physics Made Easy, in which I will be sharing valuable insights, data points, and statistics related to several or several case studies related to physics learning, and you will be able to identify the serious gaps and cracks which are existing in the broken education system, especially when it is related with a subject like physics. In this age and time, most of the students are finding it really tough to master physics when they are moving from class 10 to class 11th. It's a really tough journey for them. Without having strong fundamentals, without having the proper knowledge of mathematical tools and techniques, without able to cope up with the drastic shift in content, start moving from 10th to 11th, they are really, most students are really struggling, and they are experiencing severe pain of learning. And I never wanted any student to experience that pain of complexity in learning physics without knowing the actual beauty, simplicity, joy, fun, and excitement related with mastering physics. So, in my free webinar, I will be explaining uh, or I will be discussing each and every relevant area related with physics learning, and I will be able to help you in this particular journey. So the link to join or register for my free webinar is given in the description. You can register for my free webinar from the link given in the description. So see you tomorrow with a +1 topic. Signing off. Bye for now. Thank you.